comes walking up. It's like this big kind of warehouse. He walks all the way across the room.
Yeah.
We say, we're putting together a band. We're going to play this show, this 24-hour. We're like, are you down? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm down. And I was like, and we were like, oh, what about your brother who's playing drums?
Oh, no.
And he's like, oh, he'd probably do it. I was like, okay. And he walks back.
Yeah.
Dude, pack up their stuff in the middle of
What? And welcome to another edition of Art of the Bay Sessions. Today we are joined by a returning guest, my good buddy, Sean. How's it going, man?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Super excited to chat with you. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And you're one of the first returning guests when it comes to actually being on camera last time as well. I mean, we were virtual, but it was still the first time we went on camera as well. So.
That's right, yeah.
Now we have you in the flesh.
Folks, I made him take a COVID test. I'm that guy.
I still have the photo, so I may put it on camera here, just so there's legit proof here.
Yeah.
That we made it happen. So there you go.
I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah.
To chat with you.
Yeah, we were just chatting before we started recording about how you're probably one of the other few people that I sent photos of with everything with the studio and everything. So I'm glad that you finally are here in person to see it and everything.
Yeah, it's so cool. We were actually watching Simpsons before.
Yeah. Catching up on that.
Yeah, super excited.
So I guess we have a lot to catch up on, not only from your all the projects that you've been doing. So before I get started with that, congrats on everything that you've been putting out lately with the record label.
Thanks.
But also in your personal life, because you just welcomed the second, right? Correct? To your family?
Yeah, well, it's been...
I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a minute now, but, still, relatively like about a year now. So
Yeah.
You just turned 1 year old.
Yeah. To me, that sounds crazy.
I started that project around the same time as the record label, so...
two major projects in motion.
Yeah, the record label is a little bit, a little older, but not by much. Oh, wait, no, a little younger. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting.
I was like, I have this baby. Yes, it's a lot of work. A baby and a toddler, but why not add a little bit more work to my schedule? So that's when I started.
If you weren't busy enough at that point, just
stupid.
But we haven't seen each other in a while because of everything going on in the world. But I wanted to congratulate you on both things. So
thanks, I appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to remember because when we had you last, we were talking about the episode.
An episode of Balance.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's zoom in on the plug. We actually did a kind of live listening where, I was legit listening to the album for the first time. And I thought that was such a cool thing to do.
It was so fun.
Yeah. It was kind of mimicking what we're doing now of just trying to get a live reaction in person. That I think now that we're actually in person, it's kind of more formal where I don't have to wait for like the Zoom pause of like, okay, I'll wait for a second to respond because there might be a delay or anything. So
for sure.
Now I can actually see you in the flesh and ask you the other questions that I didn't get around to the first time. I guess I don't know which one you want to tackle first. Do you want to tackle your music career or do you want to talk about like more of your professional career, like from QA to the PM work that you've been doing?
I mean, I'm game to talk about, kind of start wherever you want to start. Like it's all, in life, everything is kind of
connected,
connected. So for me, it's like not, obviously it's my life, so it's, it's all very connected. I wouldn't be able to do the record label without the job, the way I make my bread. And then, that all kind of, is around my family and them giving me the space to do these things and encouraging me to do some of these things. So it's all kind of connected. So wherever you'd like to start, I'm game.
Yeah. I guess we can start maybe from the start as far as like you and me, when we first met back at Sony. We've had a couple of people on the podcast as well where ironically, I was just thinking about this the other day that I went to art school and that's kind of my college, but I didn't really have a college experience back then.
Yeah.
So for some reason, to me, Sony is kind of my college, where to this day, yeah, I have so many people that I actually still connect and talk to, not, I guess, like on a regular basis from those Sony days. So it's literally you, Abe, Duncan, Drew, a bunch of people compared to people who I actually went to art school with that I barely keep in contact with. So to me, I guess that's my version of college, and that's kind of our origin story as well, as starting back at the Sony days.
Yeah, exactly. Starting together at Sony was awesome. So for me, it was like you're talking about not going to college. I didn't go to college. I didn't graduate high school.
Mhm.
I worked retail, and I felt this like real just dead end in retail, like, because it's like literally, what do you do in retail? You go to like retail management, which I kind of did. It wasn't for me. I was very unhappy, just desperate to find something else. And then my wife she's just amazing, and she's like, I was thinking about like applying for this job as a video game tester.
Yeah.
Now, that's not something any partner really wants to hear.
How did you?
Because it's like, okay, you're going from like one dead end to what seems to be maybe possibly another dead end. It's like, that's what, like, it's very immature to be like, I'm going to be a video game tester. So, but
how did you originally hear about that role?
It was like a Craigslist post.
Oh,
it was like, we were living in San Francisco. I was unhappy. I had quit my job, just because they didn't like promote me or something. It was just like, I'm like, if I'm not going to even get a crappy retail promotion, like what am I doing? Like making scraps, like just like barely hanging on. So I'm like, okay, I quit. It's kind of childish thing, but I was I quit. So I didn't have a job, and then we were like moving to the peninsula because we found this place for the rent was actually I think cheaper than our place in San Francisco, and it was like a little house, right? So we're like gonna move there, and I was like, oh wait, there's this job posting on the peninsula, and now before I wouldn't have been able to do something like this, but now I'm like, okay, well maybe I should do this, like, so I called him up. It was through a contracting thing. I got all dressed up for my interview. like pro. I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear my like nice like
this was
professional sweater, and
this was at the test, like where you had to do the test first, right?
And I got gussied up. And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna sell this. I gotta be like super smart, professional. And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and this guy comes out from interviewing, and he's all stoked he got the job. And the dude looked like I was like, fuck, this guy dressed like this for an interview? Because it was like, I don't even know, man. Like I can't even describe it. It was like, it was the like what year was this? Like mid 2000s or something?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Maybe like 2009.
Yeah.
So like 2009, like looked like he was like, maybe big into meth at the time.
Yeah. Just not the normal attire you would go into an interview. I think that you could wear whatever you want to a job interview. If you could sell it. There's different like ways of dressing up, no matter what, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But it's like, that's like just something, I wouldn't wear that to like any job interview. So like, I don't know. Yeah.
But anyways, so I go in, I felt a lot more confident, but then less confident after they started like, like doing like the bug tests and stuff. Like, do you see a bug?
Yeah.
But I did all right. I remember one of the tests was like, okay, can you find the bug here? And I was like, oh, well, there's like this thing. I started naming off these things. They're like, no, not that. I'm like, oh, well, those are definitely bugs. So like, which bug are you looking for?
Right.
So so then I got that gig, and it was really weird for me because I was like, I think I was like already in my 30s, So and Sony first party quality assurance was kind of like going back to high school.
It was,
And I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
I think that's why it gave me such like that college kind of frat boy kind of vibe, just because the demographic was very young, and I didn't expect it either because I finished art school by then, so I was at least in my mid-20s. But we were talking like kids that are only like 18, 19, 20 years old there. And yeah. So they were young.
And it was like even the older cats, you know, it was like there was nobody who was like super mature there. Including myself. I mean, I wasn't either. I was like, I mean, I got kicked off of a fucking team.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I mean, like it was just, we fed off of each other. So like there was always like games and gags and like, you know, I remember Abe falling asleep and we put napkins all over him, stupid shit like that, you know. You're like,
I love how, looking back on it, Abe was kind of like the lead on one of those projects too, where when the manager was like, oh, I need to go do something, you're in charge kind of thing, that Abe of all people back. And I mean, Abe's amazing, but old Abe is a little on that same thing where he was still a little bit more rebellious and just like not at the same maturity level. So it's kind of crazy knowing that those people were in charge at that point. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
shout out to Abe, by the way. I just want to make sure you're paying attention.
Don't worry, he's not going to watch this.
That's what I'm saying. Keep him on his toes at that
point. We can say, hey, how did you like the interview? And see if he mentions it.
Exactly. But that's the cool part about that. That as crazy as that was kind of like our first, as the cliche is, like a foot in the door experience with just getting into the gaming industry.
Oh yeah.
Or I guess in the tech industry in our case, because we started in the game industry and then we both kind of went into more of just the overall tech industry at that point, where from there we went to Zynga, and then ironically we all started to go to change.org, and then from there we kind of split different paths. But for you, it's a really cool, and that's why I wanted to congratulate you two on going and trying to do different avenues there, because then you start doing more of the PM stuff.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Like, when did you start thinking about those options? Was it as early as Change, or even earlier?
I feel like it's one of those things when you're in QA, especially when you're in like a contract QA position, or like even at like Zynga, where, you know, let's be real, like the pay was like okay, it was like better than retail, but not like, you know, not like tech money.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly.
So it was like, you know, you start thinking like, okay, well, how can I like turn this into something where I could, you know, have some sort of future where I could, you know, buy a house maybe one day, or like, you know, and have kids and feel like some stability there. So for me, it was like early on, but it wasn't something that it was more of like a question, like, would I be able to do this? Would I be able to learn this? Didn't really feel like it, like I would be able to, but I knew that there was somewhere I could sneak in to do something and grow. And so I think that comes with, you know, when you start doing, like on the QA side, it's really easy to start doing like more project management type stuff alongside that. Yeah. And like just making sure you, people are communicating and you're able to help like, get stuff out the door faster than maybe it would have gone out. Yeah. So I think that's where you start to like, you know, you're able to like build out those skills, and then you start to realize, well, I've got like a lot of tools now in my tool chest, you know, to like this other thing maybe is not as far out of reach as it once was, because I have all these other tools to fall back on. Yeah. And so then but it wasn't until like, you know, the last three years or so that I was like, oh, you know, maybe I could be a product manager. I don't know. And so I tried it out, and I just, you know, like anything in this life, I feel like once you decide you want something, you need to say it out loud. You need to believe that you want it. Right. You need to say it out loud to somebody who can maybe help you make that happen. Or even just to anybody, you know, if you start saying these things out loud, you're able to like manifest it, you know, you're able to like, to make it happen. Right. And so like, that's how it started. I just told my manager one day, I'm like, you know, I think I want to be a product manager. I said it like that too. It was still like, kind of like not super solid. Right. And he's like, okay, well, you tell me when you want to. I was like, okay. And like 2 days later, I'm like, oh, I want to be a product manager. Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, you tell me when you want to try to make it happen. And I was like, I want to make it happen right now. Yeah. And so then it's like, and he was like, great. We talked about it, what that would take. I reached out to every single, like, or not every single product manager I know, but like a lot of product managers that I am in contact with. Yeah. And just ask them a ton of questions, like what makes a good product manager, you know, what do you do here in this situation? And then I just kind of started to gather all of like the information I needed to try to make it like try to give it a real shot.
Yeah.
And then like, the very first thing that I guess before I even got to that point, if I'm rewinding a little bit, and maybe gave me that confidence is that I was able to, I made a suggestion at the company I was at to add sound effects.
Oh, right? Yeah, I think I remember this.
Which is like kind of, it was just like, if we're trying to make this like gamey, why don't we have like sound? Like, why don't we use all of our senses,
Right.
So it wasn't actually something that I think was heard when I said it.
Yeah.
But then like somebody else said it and it was heard, but then it was like linked back to me.
Yeah.
So I was able to like run with that. They said, okay, do you want to like own this thing, getting it out? And I was like, hell yeah. So I worked with an engineer to get that out. I curated the sound effects.
Oh, nice.
In some cases, I created sound effects.
Yeah.
And that became something that did really well. We saw a real lift from that.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of started.
Yeah.
And then it was like I was just like the sound effects guy at that point, and I was providing sound effects. And it's like, that's actually a lot of work.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And it's like, I want to say it's even like less fun than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, interesting.
It wasn't like bad. I really appreciate that I was able to do it.
Yeah.
And I would probably do it again if somebody asked me to, but it was definitely a lot of work.
Right.
And I was already working a job, right?
Yeah.
I was already like the only QA at the company. So it was like, I had that, plus I was doing project management duties. And then I had this like other sound effects thing that actually took up a lot more time than I thought it was going to take.
Yeah.
But that got me onto the track of product management, because I was like, I had this thing and had this idea, and I got it through to shipping it,
right.
alongside like other people, of course, but helping to like manage that and helping to track like what that actually does.
Right.
Looking at metrics and all that. So that's how I got into it. Then I did my first like PM like project.
Yeah.
Was huge. It was like this huge feature. It was like working with like the whole Inch team, working with it was ginormous.
Yeah.
The first part of it, I killed. I was like, oh yeah, I did it.
Right.
This is awesome. I think I'm going to be successful at this.
Yeah.
The second phase.
So this is going through the standard kind of like production line from concept to releasing it, right?
Yeah. And it was like good. I made some like hard calls that, like some people appreciated, some people didn't appreciate it. But it's like just like that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I was decisive about these things. I got it out there. But then like the second phase, I didn't think something all the way out. It caused a big problem on production, like the day of like release, where it was gonna like, I don't go into the details, but it was like I had somebody kind of like yell at me.
Yeah.
So it was a little rough, but but that's
how you learn, really. Like it's like, I mean it is
part of that job too. And like all of these jobs is how you respond to that, pressure, stress, other people's anxiety,
right.
And all that. So, and I feel like I did good, but I definitely didn't like the job for a minute there.
Yeah. I think that's always the case when any of us try something new, that it's good that you have your highs and lows, because it kind of gives you that balance. And of course you gain a lot of experience from both the pro and the negative aspects.
Yeah.
And I think even from what I remember when we were working more closely at Change, we had so many amazing people there that even if you weren't trying to become like a PM or a designer or anything, those folks would still help you understand like what they were doing.
Yeah.
That I think that also maybe kind of gave you a little bit more of a skill set to look out for based on, how does these payment mechanics work, or how does this flow work here? If we found a bug here, then those engineers that we worked with were so amazing that they would break that down and give you a better explanation on like why things happen, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I'm glad that you're going through the growing pains, but I think with anything, if I've seen anything from you, is that you're just going to grow and become a better version like later on anyway. So
I think something for me too that I've learned is, and it's kind of out of necessity, is that that for me, at least, I don't like to be too locked into like these things like these like titles.
Yeah.
Sorry. So after that company actually ended up having layoffs, and they laid off the whole North American team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was left without a job. But it's like I was a new PM. Getting another job as a PM was going to take a lot of time. And with 2 kids, I couldn't do it. So I had to think about like, okay, how am I going to get back into the workforce without like feeling like I took a step back? And I had to like readjust in my mind, like what do I want? What do I really want out of a job? Is it like to be a product manager, or is it just to feel like I'm using all the tools that I have, like in the best way I can, and getting a decent paycheck?
Right.
Because that's what it is mainly about, right? Is just making that bread, but like
providing for the family and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And not feeling like you want to gouge out your eyes every day.
Yeah. That's always the hard balance of trying.
I mean, a lot of other people are like, "Oh, you gotta love what you do. You gotta be like," I'm like, "Oh, man, you gotta survive."
Yeah.
Hello. We hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Want to listen to the podcast on the go? We're also available on all popular podcast platforms. Links available in the episode description. Thanks again, and let's jump back into the chat.
But actually, it's kind of a funny story about how I got into singing at all. It was like I remember sitting on these bleachers during PE because, I wasn't going to actually do anything.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wearing my gym clothes because, I didn't do that. But I was sitting with this guy and I was like, I read this flyer. There's a 24-hour relay and they're looking for bands to play. And he's like, oh, cool. And he's like, I was like, we should do it. And he's like, okay. I'm like, you can play guitar. Do you know anybody who plays like drums and plays bass? And he's like, oh yeah, I think so. And then he's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess I could sing.
Yeah.
Terrible singer. Like I was like, what? How hard could it be?
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the group. And then we went and poached like the bassist and the drummer from another band during their band practice.
Oh my gosh.
Like, we should go to hell for that.
Yeah.
It was like, we walked into this band practice spot. It was the guitarist and the drummer, and the guitarist comes walking up. It was like this big kind of warehouse. He walks all the way across the room.
Yeah.
We say, we're putting together a band. We're going to play this show, this 24-hour relay. Are you down? And he's like, yeah, I'm down. And I was like, and we were like, what about your brother who's playing drums?
Oh no.
And he's like, he'd probably do it. And I was like, okay. And he walks back.
Yeah.
Dude, pack up their stuff in the middle of band practice and then walk out with us.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? That's dirty, man. We should have been beat for that. Like those guys should have beat us up.
The other guys ended up becoming some famous band that you
I hope so. They deserve it more than we ever did. That's for sure. That was a jerk move.
They ended up making Coldplay for some reason.
Good. God bless them. So yeah, that was how that all came about. But then like the punk band happened. We put together like a group. I think we play a show without practicing? I forget, but we were terrible. Mm-hmm. We played Kenyatta College for $100.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And then we played and we were terrible.
Uh-huh.
And the singer, my buddy, JP, who was also in Broom here.
Oh, nice.
The album I put out. But he told me that they told him that we could never play there again And we were never allowed to go to school there.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I believe it, but I like to believe it because it sounds funny.
Yeah, that's a good story to tell in the future. Who's going to fact check that?
I don't know. It could be true. I never tried to apply there, so.
Awesome. You just brought it up with the record label. So I know that you were in, of course, several other bands after that, and of course still are in your current projects. What kind of inspired you to start up the record label at that point? Was it more of a, now that I've done this, I kind of want to see what happens by starting this out and helping others, or was it more of a goal to seek out new artists at that point?
I definitely didn't think it out like super well when I started it. It was more of like, I have this collection of songs. I'm not collaborating with anybody. I don't feel connected to any kind of like community or scene. I feel really like kind of like lost, but I want to do this thing. So I'm gonna put out these songs, and I'm gonna put it out under my own record label. And then as I was kind of talking that out to myself and putting it together, I was like, oh, well, I guess to make like maybe I guess since I'm putting out this, I might as well put out like one more and see like kind of like what happens. I put out my buddy JP's thing because I thought it was like super interesting. And that was another person who wasn't out there playing, you know? And I feel like artists that aren't out there like, putting in the work, playing shows, like sometimes they just kind of get left out there and they can't express themselves. And not everybody has the ability to go out and play shows. So to me, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to give him a shot, like, and put some stuff out there. That happened. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll do another. And then maybe I'll do another. And it kind of just, it kept going. And now I'm at the point where I've got like, through the end of the year booked out for albums that I'm releasing, and all sorts of different styles. Although the styles I was exploring like in the beginning here, like different styles to put out, and it's kind of starting to kind of go in a direction. Yeah. So we'll see. But I wanted it that way. I didn't want to be like too, like it has to be this, fit into this genre completely kind of thing, for good or bad. I don't know that people actually like that. Like, I think people like it to be a mix of everything. Yeah. No, I think people don't like it to be a mix of everything. This is my take: is people really like something to be, focused in more, because then they know what they like. They can follow it. When it's too eclectic, maybe it's not for. There's certain types of people I think that like that, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily the majority of people. Right. I could be wrong. Yeah. But I didn't want to like have it be like, super like boxed in, and I wanted it to kind of grow into its own thing. To see if what would happen there. I think it is doing that. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. If that was your idea from the beginning, if you wanted to have more of a Def Jam where it's primarily like hip hop, or if it was going to be more a record label that's starts off this way, but it does open it up to different types of music. I think that when I first started it off, I actually, when you talk about hip hop, I actually did want it to be like more of a, like a, I guess I wanted it to be all of the things that I like. Yeah. But it's like, it's hard to make that a reality, because like I wanted it to be like, I wanted it to be like indie, like lo-fi hip hop. I wanted it to be lo-fi pop. I wanted it to be, punk rock. I wanted it to be like hardcore. I wanted it to be like, I wanted it to be all of the things that I love. Yeah. I want it to be like Western music. Like I really just want to put out whatever the fuck I like. Right. And I think I'm still going to do that. I can't see a moment where that's not happening, but I do think that I was in the beginning here exploring a lot more, not in a bad way, and like in a good way. Like I put out Connour, which is like a noise, like a really cool like noise project. And this guy's been doing it for years and years. Oh, nice. And it's really good. It's I definitely recommend, if you are into like experimental noise, check that out. Yeah. But it's but it's something where I'm like, after doing it, I'm like, I don't know. I would have to, in order to put out all of these different types of music and give them and help them with the promotion that they need and get it into the hands of the people who will like this stuff. Like I would need to know like every scene, like get in there deep on it's so hard to it's hard to even do like, for my own stuff, like my Orange Dot stuff, to like really be able to promote it, because it's like you have to have it really dialed in. You have to have the right contacts and all that. And so like trying to do that with like a ton of different genres.
Right.
It's like really hard. And it's already hard enough. So like to me, I feel like I need to like, I do need to step back a little bit from the experimental noise side of things.
Yeah.
I think. Who knows though? It takes one thing to interest me, and I might be back up with it. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. That's what I was actually going to follow up with, was how do you find that balance between trying to manage everything with the record label and then still finding the time to be creative yourself with making new music at that point?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's difficult. I think it's like, having, I don't know how I do it.
Yeah.
It's, see, the problem here is like, it's like finding time for the kids and for music, and the record label and the job. All of that kind of works out okay, but then you also want to have like your own like downtime social life. That's where it becomes really hard, because it's like I still want to hang out at night and like watch shows with Trisha. I still want to like play video games. Yeah. Like it's hard when you're always trying to do something. How do you find that time? It's like 12 a.m. to 1. I mean, it's like 12 to 1 a.m.
I think I think we find each other online sometimes around that same time.
It's like very like late or early, however you want to look at it. And it's not like probably the healthiest, because then you got to get up early the next day, for work and do it all over again. Yeah. And the problem that I run into a lot of times too, if you are a drinker, like while you're watching shows, you're at 12 a.m. and you're like a little buzzed. It's hard. You could write songs that way, but it's hard to record it. And then when you're getting into like actually making the music and recording it, that's where it's really hard, because in a house that's just full of people, right. There's I don't have soundproofing or anything like that. Right. And so in some ways that kind of, with the latest album Deflated for Orange Dots, that one, I sing a lot different than I have in the past, because I am forced to. Oh, interesting. In some ways it's a good thing, because I sometimes have gone a little like out of control with my voice. Like I just like let it kind of run wild. But like on that, it's a little bit more controlled, a little softer. Yeah. It was out of necessity. So
yeah. That was, I think you're just setting up all these questions for me, because that's what I had in the top of my head as well, where how was that process of recording new material during the pandemic, like during the early phases where everything was pretty much locked down, like comparing that to when you recorded music before, where things are a little bit more open, I guess?
I don't think there was actually a ton of difference for me, because I guess the only difference is, the ages of my children are more, that impacts it more than the pandemic. Yeah. For me. So, yeah. I mean, everybody talks about like, oh, this album's a pandemic album or whatever. Yeah. It is technically, that obviously influences your what you're singing about, and like your all of that kind of stuff. But the actual like creation of the thing, I don't know that was affected by the pandemic for me. Gotcha. But like the content, like the topics and all that was definitely influenced, like everybody else. Like I think for me, like you probably know this about me, is I'm not like that social of a person. Like I'm a homebody. I like to stay home. but the pandemic for me has been like hard because I've learned that I actually do need that.
Yeah.
You know, like this is awesome. Like, you know, connecting with you like this, cause I don't get to do it that often.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like really kind of messed me up a little mentally, you know?
Yeah. No, I think everyone's kind of had to deal with it in different ways, but yeah, I think you and I are very similar in that case of, we like our alone time, but we also definitely need some social interaction here and there too.
I didn't know that I needed the social interaction. I didn't know that I needed it, but I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that you did.
As you can tell,
you're a social. You're a very social person.
if building a studio didn't tell you that, then
you're like you built this so people would come to you.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
That's how I make the world take over the world slowly. Before we wrap up, saying that with all the projects that you've been working on, and now you've been helping out others as well. What would you say have been some of your favorite projects that you've been working on on a personal level, but also collaborative, especially in your case, since you have been working with so many folks?
Yeah, I mean, Orange Dots has been great for me because it really allows me to do anything I want to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as you can see, like from the first album to the second album, it's like completely different.
Yeah.
The third thing that I just released with my buddy Causeway, it's like a split. Those songs are they're kind of closer related to Deflated than the first album, but like still a little bit different. And then this next album, I'm going to be collaborating. This is going to be my first Orange Dots album where I'm working with other people on it. So that's going to be with my buddy Tommy and Nathan. And that's going to be really cool, I think. So I'm really excited about that. I've got songs already. It's just that we have to put them together as a band and like actually create something with those. So I'm really excited about that. And then as far as the record label goes, you know, I've got some really cool releases. One of them is this group called The Variable Stars. They're actually from the Peninsula.
Oh, cool.
From way back in the day. That I don't think a lot of people know about. It's like this really great jangle pop. So releasing that in hopefully July. I've got another release. Heavy Medical is happening in June, actually. That's coming up. Mm-hmm. That's more of like a noise rock, noise punk kind of thing. And then in the month of August is going to be this group called this person who goes under this artist who goes under the name Dooley, and that's a really cool like psych pop, like dream pop, like kind of thing. And that's one of these artists that I really want to get out there. Like I don't feel like enough people have heard of it because it's really good. And then after that, we've got the Very Most and the Starry Eye Cadets split 7-inch. I'm getting into the vinyl game, so that's going to be like that's a big one for me. That'll be I'm sure a lot of lessons there, and hopefully all good stuff.
So you're saying you're going to order 10,000?
10,000, give or take. Yeah, no.
Maybe 100,000 if the demand is there.
But no. So just a lot of good stuff. Professionally, you know, I'm working out this company now called Hone, which I'm enjoying it. It's just full of a lot of really good people. Chris Taga, works there, and Chris Hardy works there now. And so like there's like just a lot of good people there. So that's been going good. I'm in a hybrid role there, so it's kind of like quality product and project. So it's like all over the place. Which I was talking about earlier, trying to use all of your tools. That's what I'm trying to do now. And then so like it's curious to see how that's gonna all play out, and how it's gonna it's going well. So
that's awesome. I think that's always the cool thing of when you get to meet old friends from previous companies and work with them again, that especially if you had like a good relationship at the previous company, that it kind of ties back in together at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I don't know if you I know you just gave pretty much a lot of shout outs, but if you wanted to plug anything else before we head out.
I would just say get involved in the Bay Area music scene. Like there's like a lot of good music happening in the Bay Area, Like if you need direction on like, good Bay Area groups, you could reach out to me directly.
Yeah.
And I will, and I'll point you in the right direction. There's just a ton of stuff happening right now.
Yeah.
And if you have good recommendations for artists and musicians in the Bay Area, to hit me up too, because I love learning about all that stuff and working with people. Also happy to collaborate with anybody, and if you have a music you want to release, you could hit me up. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing the label because it's hell on earth. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. But yeah, get at me. Let's talk about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll cheers to that.
Thanks for having me. Awesome hanging out with you.
I
wish this had booze in it, but it's just water.
I'm telling you.
You can put some in after, I guess.
Exactly. All right.
After party. You didn't even drink.
I did. Look, it's pretty much gone. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll catch up again. I have a feeling that we might bring some of those special guests in future episodes. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah. You've been talking to my buddy Leon, right?
Yeah. So,
he's sick. You got to get him in here.
Well, that's what I'm hinting at.
I'm trying to get a good. I mean, I would love to release his stuff too. So hopefully that happens. I'm courting him right now. So
we just bring him in here and put him on the spot, and he has to say yes in front of the camera.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Shout out to Leon. Alrighty, well, thank you so much again, and thank you for checking out this episode, and we will see you next time.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and other social platforms to catch new episodes and updates. Want to learn more about the items and music featured in this episode? Links available in the episode description. Thanks again for listening, and take care.